Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We are going to start our second lesson. If you notice our title today, it's Reading and Writing Decimals 1-1 and 1-2, Part 2. So this is the same lesson as we did yesterday, but this is just a different type of questions. So our goal is still the same, that we're going to learn to read and write numbers with decimals. Okay, a couple of reminders is your 2 pens. When I write with the green, my expectation is that you're going with me. You're writing with me. When I write with the red, my expectation is that you're stopping and just watching. Okay, so today we don't have any new vocab because it's the same lesson as we had done before. Some notes here, just quick reminder that this place value chart that you're going to see throughout Swun, we're not using it to do our questions. What we are using it for is so we can memorize these place values. Remember, we need to know that the decimals place values all have the "ths" at the end, and it goes from tenths to hundredths to thousandths. It gets smaller. This means they cut up the 1 into 10 pieces. This means they cut up the 1 into 100 pieces. And this one means they cut it up into 1,000 pieces. And then also a quick reminder about the 4 parts to reading or writing a decimal. Remember, I say or write the whole number. Part 2, I say or write and for the decimal. Part 3, I say or write the decimal number. And the last one, that's the tricky one, and you're going to see that today where it gets tricky, is part 4, I say or write the last place value. So again, I'm going to put a star just to remind me that that was a little tricky. Okay, so notice I grabbed my red pen, so set your pencil down. Okay, so what does this look like and why do I keep saying it's tricky? Well, you can refer to your steps from yesterday if you'd like. I know my steps, so I'm going to use what I know in my head. Here's my first question. Write the base 10 numerals, which is standard form, for 23 and 854 thousandths. Okay, well, if I remember my steps, the first step said I'm going to separate the whole number from the decimal number by circling the decimal point or the word and. So this time I'm going to circle the word and that's going to separate my 2 numbers. The whole number's in front and the decimal number's behind it. And then step 2 says I'm just going to use those 4 parts of a decimal. So I remember the first part of saying or writing decimal is to write the whole number. Well, the whole number is right here. So I need to write that. So I write that 23 as 23. The second part of reading and writing a decimal is I'm going to write the word and for the decimal point or vice versa, the decimal point for and. So instead of and, I write my decimal. My third part is I'm going to write the decimal number, the number after the decimal. So here I have 854 thousandths. That's not part of my number, that's actually my place value. So this is my number, 854. Well, I know how to write 854. It's just 854. That's 854. And my last step, the tricky one, is to write my last place value. Well, they want my place value to be thousandths. Did I actually match that? Did I really write thousandths? Well, let's check that. I could refer back to this if I need to make sure I got to the thousandths. And I also, what I like to do is write on top of them. So I know the first place value is tenths, the second place value is hundredths, and the third one is the thousandths. So I got all the way to thousandths. They match, and that's what that step said, is make sure they match. So this is the standard form, and this is the number name or number form. Okay, let's try another one, and this one's going to get tricky. Okay, this one says write the base 10 numeral or standard form for 18 and 3/100ths. Okay, so remember my first step says that I'm going to separate the whole number from the decimal number by circling the decimal point or the word and. So here I go, I circled it, and now I have my whole number on one side and my decimal number on the other side. Okay, now I'm going to use those 4 parts of saying or writing a decimal. So first, I say or write the whole number. Here the whole number says it's 18. Second, I say or write the decimal point. So and is the same as the decimal point. Third, I say or write the decimal number. So here I have 3. Hundredths is a place value. It's not a number, so I'm not underlining that. So I write 3. And fourth is I write my place value, or I make sure they match. Ooh, this is where it gets tricky. So let's see. They wanted me to go to hundredths. Well, again, I can use this if I haven't memorized them, but look what happened. I only went to tenths. So those don't match, which means I must have done something wrong. What happens? Maybe let's see if I just add a 0 here. Now I went to hundredths. Ooh, that looks like they match because this is hundredths and this went to the hundredths place value. But what's the problem there? Does this say 18 and 3? Nope, this number says 30. I needed the number to say 3. So that doesn't work either. I need somehow to make sure it says only 3, but it gets all the way to the hundredths place value. So watch what I'm going to do. My 18 was right, and my decimal was right. Here's where my problems were. I'm going to have to write 3 like this, because now this still is only 3, but look what place value I get to, the tenths and the hundredths. So now they match. So be really careful of those. They're going to throw those in to try and throw you off. Okay, let's try some together. Notice I grabbed my green pen. Okay, the first one says 77 and 3/10. So again, my first step says I'm going to separate my whole number from my decimal number by circling and or the decimal point. Now I'm going to use those 4 parts of saying a decimal. So first, I'm going to underline my whole number and write it 77. Second, and is my decimal point. Third, I'm going to write my decimal number 3. That's not a number, that's a place value, so I just write 3. And fourth, I write my place value. And here I'm just going to make sure they match. Well, this 3 is in the tenths place value, and that's what they wanted. They wanted the tenths. So that time it's great. I didn't have to do anything tricky there. Okay, let's go on to our next one. 41 and 16 thousandths. Okay, step 1, remember, is I'm going to separate my whole number from my decimal number, and then I'm ready to go. 1 is I write my whole number, 41. 2 is my decimal point for and. 3 is I write my decimal number, 16. And fourth is I write my place value, or I make sure they match. Well, they want thousandths. Let's see if I did it. Tenths, hundredths. Ooh, thousandths isn't my last place value. So those don't match. So how can I get it to say 16 and thousandths? Well, what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to add a 0. Now, if I added it here, is that going to work? No, because it'll get to thousandths, but that number is 160. So I'm going to have to put it here. So my number is still 16, but I also make it all the way to the thousandths. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you're feeling okay. Remember, if you're not, we're going to work on this in class tomorrow. Okay, your homework tonight is to try these 4 problems on your own and then rate your understanding so you're ready for tomorrow in class. All right, have a nice evening.